Hey, travel fans, welcome to RTE-Travel Talk, Ask a Real Travel Expert, the show that talks to travel professionals around the world. Today we're off to France for a review of a Christmas markets river cruise with AmaWaterways. If you enjoy the journey with us today, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if this video's got you inspired, give it a thumbs up or drop a comment and join the conversation. It really helps the channel out. Thanks for being part of our travel community, whether you're a longtime fan or just dropping by. We really appreciate it. And now, on with the show. Joining me today to review AmaWaterways Christmas markets in France are Rich and Linda Skinner, co-owners of Cruise Holidays of Woodinville, located in Kirkland, Washington. Rich and their team of expert travel advisors have been meeting their needs in and around Kirkland and across the country for the last 23 plus years. Hi, folks. Welcome back to RTE Travel Talk.
Hi, Ken.
Hi, Ken.
It's great to have you back with us. It's that time of year that you folks just returned from kind of a different Christmas markets cruise, one that has an itinerary that involves France. Now, that's something that hasn't been done very much, so I'm really, really interested to find out how you got along and what were some of the differences. How's that sound?
That sounds really good.
Perfect.
Sounds good.
Perfect. So where do we start, folks? Why don't you give us a quick overview?
This was I think our fifth Ama cruise.
Right.
We love their product. It's consistent every time we go. Their ships are beautiful. This was AmaKristina, which is one of their newer of their river ones. They have really taken the Christmas market theme to heart. The ships are decorated magnificently with garlands and trees and Santa Clauses and gnomes, and they even play find the pickle in the Christmas trees. But I mean, they have really put it together in a nice format.
This was kind of a dream of mine because, we loved the Christmas markets in, Germany and Austria and Hungary and Amsterdam. Those were magnificent. And I thought, I kept thinking, what did they do in France,
Right.
And so I kept watching for some kind of a Christmas cruise in France. And sure enough, Ama came out with this on the Rhone River. So we had an opportunity to go on it, and not disappointed at all. It was, just a wonderful experience. It was different, and we can talk about that more. It's a bit different than what you get.
So tell me about the itinerary. Where did it go from? Where did it start and where did it end? And what river were we on?
We were on the Rhone. It's not as familiar to people, but beautiful itinerary. We started in Arles, and Arles, France, probably best known for Roman antiquities, and most for the great artist Van Gogh. That was his place that he landed in the south of France, where he did a lot of his work. And then also their other claim to fame is the no-kill bullfighting. So that starts in Arles, and then we end in probably one of my favorite cities in France, Lyon.
Wow.
Gastronomical capital of France. Yeah. It was a beautiful itinerary.
Right. Our previous Christmas cruise had been on the Danube.
Right.
Yeah.
Going from Budapest to Wilshafen. And that gives us a great standard of comparison to take a look at what they do versus what the French do.
Yeah.
One of which is weather. I mean, if you're in the German one, Germanic one, it's probably going to be 10 to 15 degrees cooler Fahrenheit.
Really? Wow.
Than it will be in the south of France. So we had probably in Fahrenheit in the low 40s with almost no rain in France, whereas in Germany and Austria, we were getting snow and slush.
40s were our high in that area,
Yeah.
and here it was most days it got up into the 60s and one day 65. The weather was quite different. I shared one of my pictures with one of my clients, and she said, "Where's the snow?" And I said, "It's the south of France. They don't have snow."
Well, that's really interesting. When most people think of Christmas markets, they expect it to be cold and, with a chance of snow.
Yeah. Well, being a California girl, born and raised in Northern California, Christmas to me is the light sparkling off of the wet concrete and
exactly.
and warm weather. So it felt very home-like to me because the weather in in that part of France is very similar to the weather you get in Central California.
Yeah. So it was 7 days.
Yes.
Yeah.
We spent an extra day in Marseille on the front end of our trip so that we could look at what the Marseille people do for Christmas markets. And it was very much worth our while to do that. It was lovely, just lovely.
So how many stops along the river were there? We started in Arles and finished in Lyon, but
we went to Arles and then we went to Avignon. Viviers, I think, was the next, wasn't it, Rich?
Yes.
And then
Tournon, Hermitage.
La Hermitage, which is lots of chocolate there. Chocolate and wine. Yeah. What a great combination.
Yes.
And then from there, our next stop was Vienne and then Lyon, and we overnighted one night in Lyon.
Oh, fantastic. So I think it was about this time last year that we reviewed your voyage on the Danube for Christmas markets, and you guys were just raving about it. How did this compare? And, if folks were thinking about, okay, well, which am I going to choose? What stands out for one in the south of France as opposed to being on the Danube or the Rhine?
It is very different.
Right.
It was kind of different in the ways that you might expect.
Okay.
And that is the food and wine part of France was just on a different plane.
Yeah.
The beignets and the
pretzels.
They had, we called them pretzels, but there was another French name for them that was filled with cheeses. And my mouth is watering just talking about it because we arrive in Marseille, right? And we're there, we come in pretty much by the time we get on the hair-raising taxi ride from the airport. We get there and the Christmas market is right by our hotel. It was like perfect.
Okay.
And it was going full force. So we went out there and kind of in a sleepy stupor after flying so many hours. And there was this one booth and it was just crowded. They had big rounds of brie like this, cut in half, sitting over and with a flame on the top that was melting that brie. They had these luscious baguettes that they were slicing open, and then they were scraping that warm brie onto those baguettes and making this oozing sandwich of brie and baguette.
Wow. My mouth is watering here.
I mean, literally, they were lined up around the block to get this.
Yeah.
Just absolutely mouth-watering just to watch. Yeah. And, it was things like that, just very unusual. When we were in Lyon, the Christmas market there, so it was lunchtime. Lots of moms with their kids and the same kind of feel that you got in the other Christmas markets over in the other countries. But it was, again, huge, what we would call food courts in the United States, but sections. And there was this dish, and it was creamy cheeses and potatoes and sausages in this big pot, just bubbling. And I mean, we could have come back, 200 pounds heavier.
Well, one of the things I noticed, Ken, is when we did the Danube,
right,
it was kind of like a renaissance of getting over the COVID situation, people coming out into their world again and socializing. What we saw here was a continuation and probably an extension of that in France, because now it's become so popular that it's really growing, I think, in its scope and its size. And it's been adopted by the local communities as a real focal point for their winter tourism efforts and for the locals and the visitors.
Yeah.
So it really is special. And I noticed another thing is the artisans that were there, you weren't seeing a lot of stuff made in mass market someplace in the Far East. You were seeing the local artisan talking about what they created and what it was and what it was. And it was just a wonderful experience to be able to have a chance to see things you're not going to see every day. in your life, and to be exposed to that kind of stuff.
In the Christmas market at Avignon, we were walking through and we saw some really beautiful jewelry. One of the people that we had met on the boat who was traveling by herself that we brought with us, she and I got into this jewelry. It's really, really pretty and made with natural stone. As a matter of fact, I have a bracelet from from there. And he polished the stones, and his wife made all the jewelry, designed and made all the jewelry. He took the time to explain to us each stone and what it was, and where it came from around there, and just. And I said to Rich, I said, that's something that was really different because we never had that on any of the others Christmas markets that we've been to. And then when we landed in Lyon, it was kind of the same thing. I have some jewelry that I bought there from a lady who designs and makes it. And she took the time to explain everything and go through everything with me. I got this hat from a lady who makes all of the hats and everything and she was, talking to us about that. So, there was this interpersonal thing.
Yeah. So what you're saying is the Christmas markets in France are kind of a more personal feel to them.
Yes.
Yeah. Here, they just seem to really take the time to, help you appreciate their wares that they were selling.
So was there any kind of a language barrier? Did you get along fairly well?
Most of the time, no. In most of the Christmas markets, usually there was someone there who could do pretty good in French. I used my old Google Translate a lot. It saved us on many occasions.
I bet.
One of the things that's unique also for the French markets are they have a thing called santons.
Okay.
And these are hand-carved
figurines,
little figurines and creches and things of that nature. It's very unique to that part of France.
It started as the creche, and then they would carve their family into little figurines, and they would become part of the whole Christmas scene. That was something very different. It was a tradition in the Provence region. Those stands where they were selling the little figurines were pretty busy.
I bet. But in comparing busy to busy, you found that perhaps because it hasn't been around quite as long as some of the markets on the Danube or the Rhine, there's not quite the crowds?
At least at the time that we went. We boarded the ship on Thanksgiving Day.
Right.
And so some of the towns that we got to, we were a bit early for the Christmas markets because they didn't start until Advent.
Okay.
So anything before the first of December, they weren't quite ready yet.
Right. Okay. So in theory, then, if you were on a Christmas markets cruise in like mid-December, it could be somewhat busier, but probably still not the same kind of crowds that you'd find on the Rhine or Danube.
There weren't as many boats. I think this is something
that makes a
new.
Difference. So when folks think about a Christmas markets cruise, obviously the markets are the main attraction, but are there other excursions as you go along down the river, or is it mostly when it comes to...
that is the other thing that I told Rich. I said, especially for somebody who maybe, especially usually the husband is like, I'm not sure I want to do a lot of shopping.
Right.
The history on this river, the Roman history, is amazing.
So you have the chance to experience those as well.
So you don't have to be really oriented toward the Christmas markets, or if you were interested in the olive, there was a tour that olive oil tasting and all that kind of stuff, as well as a lot of wine tasting.
Right. Well, obviously it's France, so wine and cheese, right?
If you weren't into the Christmas markets, you did not have to.
Okay.
And on board the ship itself, they had programs for like decorate the Christmas tree, and they had like 5 or 6 Christmas trees, and you could make some ornaments and decorate them.
Santa Claus came one night, brought gifts.
And the crew sang Christmas carols one night, but they brought in their regular entertainment. So they had the regular, and everything else is value added extra. So that's really what you're looking at with the Christmas cruises. You're getting the regular product with this plus.
Okay. So let's talk a little bit about AmaWaterways and the particular ship that you're on. How did you find the staterooms?
We had a great stateroom. One of the things that I do love on Ama with most of their river boats is their dual balcony, where they have half of an indoor balcony with French, like a French balcony out. And then half is an outdoor balcony. So that indoor balcony, especially on this particular date of the cruise, was very popular. If you wanted to take a picture, you didn't necessarily have to walk out on the outdoor balcony. You could just open the French doors. To me, that's a really nice feature.
It also lends itself to having the room feel a little bit more spacious with the balcony set up like that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And Ama has a happy hour every day from 5 or something
6 to 7.
6 to 7, whatever it is. And it's free. Whatever, almost everything you want from the bars is included. Then you do get wine, beer, and soft drinks at lunch and dinner in unlimited quantities. Also sparkling wine at breakfast if you want that too.
But during this happy hour, you can go to their bar and you can order anything you want.
They'll come and get it. Take your order for it. All included. Very generous with the wine pour at the dinner table and at the lunch table. So, I mean, if you want that, that's readily available to you. The food, I thought the food was outstanding. I mean, you had a lot of, they gave you a lot of appetizers that were very French, like escargot and what were some of the other ones, Linda? We had several French things that you could only get, and it was a small portion, but it was nice. And then they had, the menu was very French oriented as well.
See, we boarded on Thanksgiving Day, and they did have a very nice Thanksgiving dinner for those of us who wanted that. I would call it a gourmet Thanksgiving dinner.
Boy, it sounds great to me. So, in terms of the ship now, there's the main dining room. Do they have like a specialty dining room on board the AmaKristina?
They have a dining room that's called the chef's table, and you can go to that. It's not an extra charge or anything like that, but you do have to reserve.
Right.
We did have the opportunity to do the chef's table, which was excellent. And it's a wine and food pairing, but that's what it's known for, is to be a food and wine pairing experience.
And they also, in the lounge for breakfast and sometimes through lunch, they'll have an area where they'll have a mini breakfast where you can get some scrambled eggs and bacon and some pastries and some orange juice and some coffee and things like that. And then sandwiches at lunchtime where you can do if you just want to catch a quick bite.
Now, because I did hurt my back prior to boarding the ship, we did the Gentle Walkers tour.
Explain that a little bit for the benefit of our viewers and listeners.
So on the tours, you have, depending on the tour, but on most of the tours, you have the option of being gentle walker, regular walker, or active walker. Right. You are on maybe the same tour, but it's going to be a different pace. But I found it was so wonderful because usually we're on the regular walkers and I'm always running to catch up because I'm trying to take pictures and they're off and going. I'm like, I like this because I can really stop and take pictures and enjoy.
And one of the differences with Ama, Ken, is that the shore excursions are included in the price.
All are included,
No, that's a.
And you can take them or not take them. If you don't want to, you don't have to.
Yeah, a couple of times we just did stuff on our own because we wanted to spend more time.
So the excursions are included. Is there anything else that's included with Ama? Wi-Fi, obviously.
Oh, yeah, they have a great Wi-Fi. Our onboard bill was hardly anything. And the main thing is we, at the last minute, decided to buy a transfer to the airport. That was the most expensive thing on our bill.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think our onboard revenue bill was like, without the transfer, it would have been like under $100.
Under 50.
Does Ama include the transfers if you take their air?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That's an option for people. If you use their air, you're going to have your transfers included.
We were going to take a taxi in Lyon from the boat to the airport. Our cruise manager said it's just as economical to do it, to just give you a transfer with everybody else. Then you have our person there at the airport also to help you.
Yes.
Good
And
idea.
one of the features that AMA has, and it's not on all cruises, but on some of them, they actually will offer you the pre or post extension included in your price. And that is a whale of a deal if you take advantage of it. So you get the standard cruise price, but if you go on the dates that it is available, they'll give you the pre or post 3 or 4 days in a front end city or a back end city. On our cruise, the front end city was Barcelona and the back end city was Paris.
So if you had to make a recommendation on either doing a pre or a post, would you choose the pre to get over the jet lag, or?
Yes.
Yeah, definitely.
So in terms of the weather, what should people consider packing for the weather along a Christmas markets cruise? Now, I guess that's going to vary quite a bit between on
It
the Rhone
will. It
or on the
will.
Danube.
Mhm.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. That's another thing. If you have a real aversion to the minus cold, really, really cold
Yeah.
weather, then maybe looking at the south of France would be a really good option for you to have the Christmas part of it, but not have the freezing cold part of it.
But here's the thing about that. On the Danube and in the Rhine, you're down in these river valleys and it's a little bit more northern. So the cold is like a damp cold, which can feel a lot colder to you
Yeah.
when you're there, as opposed to like a really dry cold. But when it's
You
damp,
definitely want to be in layers.
yeah,
You want to have lots of
yeah.
layers to be able to go up
Yes.
or down to whatever you need.
So when we spoke last year about the Danube, you guys referred to it as it being absolutely magical, wonderful for families and kids. Is it the same kind of atmosphere on the Rhone, or like if I've got a family and I've got young kids and I want them to experience that, should I be looking towards perhaps the Danube or the Rhine, or is the Rhone a good
There were
option?
actually some families with children on this
Yeah.
cruise, and they were having a marvelous time.
Okay.
They were fun to watch because they were having so much fun. I think either one.
Yeah, I think that for the little kids, they have like merry-go-rounds and little kiddie
Yeah,
things that they can do. There's
they
Santa
had
Claus
craft
pictures and
areas going where you could go do little crafts and things like that.
So it certainly is an option for folks then.
yes.
Definitely. And Amma, they were doing a great job accommodating those children.
With the weather during that time of year, do you get some quality time up on the sun deck or on your balcony?
We did
Yeah.
not really. The other thing that Amma has is really nice bicycles.
Okay.
Every stop has some kind of bicycle component that you can do on this particular cruise. Because it's not freezing cold, there were a lot of people doing bicycles.
Mhm.
This particular cruise on the Rhone really seemed to have some nice bike areas.
One of the other things, AMA is emphasizing fitness as part of their culture, and so there was onboard fitness guy who in the morning, 7:30 in the morning or 7 o'clock, would offer stretching classes and mild
Yoga.
aerobic classes if you wanted them, and that was all included.
Oh, fantastic.
And a lot of people went up and walked the deck up around on the sun deck, using it as the track that's up there. I think your first Christmas markets cruise is probably more magical than your second one, no matter what you do.
That's a good segue into the fact that you should never go back to the same place twice. So if you do the Rhine on the Christmas markets and you loved it, then try another destination or another river.
We did not expect this to be the same experience as we had on. We know enough about the difference in the cultures to say this is not going to be the same.
Yeah.
But we were curious, what are those differences? And we are so glad we did it.
Yeah. So let me put you on the
And
spot here. What would your advice be to someone that's considering their first Christmas markets cruise? Are we going to go to the Danube, the Rhine, or the Rhone?
I hate to keep saying this, but it depends. And I think that's why you need people like us, that can ask you those questions to see what you.
Yep. So basically, it comes down to a conversation with an expert travel advisor that's been on several of these to elicit the information out of you about what your wants and needs really are.
Ken, that's a big difference in your program, in this program, versus somebody who takes their camera and does a shot of the stateroom and a shot of some food, and that's all you get. Because on this program, you're going to get people who have not only done the programs and the products, but they've had a lot of experience with other people who have as well, and have seen some of the pitfalls and some of the snares that can be out there that you want to circumnavigate.
No,
And
exactly.
if you get somebody like a Linda, she's going to take most of the questions out of the equation and make it much more enjoyable for you as a customer.
Yeah. So on that, and asking the hard questions sometimes, was there anything you disliked about this cruise?
The airplane.
Well, that's a cop-out because
yeah, that's a cop-out.
like,
No, I can't think of a thing that I disliked about the cruise. Can you, Rich?
Yeah, the wine wasn't great, but other than that, it was really super.
Yeah,
the food was terrific. It just wasn't my.
It was more to my taste than it was his.
Yeah. Well, folks, this is fantastic. Is there anything else you'd like to add about this before we wrap up?
Well, I can tell you, I saw a figure the other day that Viking Cruise Line said their river product is 75% sold out for 2025. And I think the other guys are right there in that same number. So if somebody's looking for a river cruise next year, they're going to have to move a little quicker because there's not going to be enough inventory out there.
Especially the Christmas markets, because that's a very limited time and very limited product. And so if you really want to pick where you're going to, what kind of stateroom, especially on the upper end side of it, it's important to move early on that. There's not a lot of last minute availability on those cruises.
The thing to remember is think a year and a half out or even 2 years out in some cases to get exactly what you're looking for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
No, for sure.
Remember, you can take all the river boats in the world and put them together. Don't equal one Royal Caribbean giant ship for the number of passengers.
Exactly. Well, folks, this is fantastic. If people wanted to reach out to you about a possible Christmas Markets River Cruise in the future, how would they do that?
Well, they can call our office, 425-487-4001. They can subscribe to this website and they can get to us through you, Ken. And they can go to our website. So, we're available. Just let us know.
Sounds great. Sounds great. I'll leave that contact information in the description for those that might like to reach out. But as always, since I'd like to live vicariously through the travels of all these wonderful people I get to interview in this channel, I have to know where you guys are off to next.
Linda said I had to answer that question. we still have Africa as a big bullseye painted out there, but all of the things have to come together correctly to make that happen because it is probably the most complex thing we've ever tried to do. So we're looking at that. In the meantime, if an opportunity comes along, say to go to Alaska or do a coastal, we may go ahead and pick up our one of 2,000 roller bags and go and take advantage of that cruise opportunity. So that's kind of where we are right now.
Well, that kind of sounds like a plan. And I can certainly identify with the intricacies of heading out to Africa. When you guys do that, we're going to have you back so we can compare notes. How's that sound?
Yeah.
Our pleasure.
That sounds great.
All right. Well, with that, folks, I'm going to just wish the two of you safe and happy travels on all your future cruises and destinations. May the wind always be at your back. And I hope to see you on the sun deck of an AmaWaterways river cruise sometime soon in the future.
First round's on us.
I'll take you up on that.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Take care. And that about wraps it up for today, folks. A very special thanks to my guests, Rich and Linda Skinner of Cruise Holidays of Woodinville. If you'd like to reach out to Linda or Rich, I will leave their contact information in the description. If you'd like to reach out to us, you can simply send a question to questions@realtravelexperts.com. Visit our website, realtravelexperts.com, or simply leave a comment. We always respond. And as always, folks, if you enjoyed this content, a like, share, subscribe, and a ring of the bell is certainly appreciated and helps other folks just like you to find our content. So until next time, happy travels.